just thinking about edges again, and I'm thinking specifically about the edge of the land where there's a beach. Because if you know anything about beaches, and I'm sure you do, particularly tidal beaches, there's a strip of land there which is covered when the tide's in, but which is exposed when the tide's out. And that's often called the littoral, L-I-T-O-R, it's something, I don't know, I can't even spell it, but it's called the littoral anyway. So half the time it's land and half the time it's water. And it's a fascinating area, that, the littoral, the limit, the bit in between. It's the edge, but it's not a distinct edge. It's an edge which has its own properties, you know. When the tide's out, you can do all kinds of things on it, and people do. Right now it's summer in Cornwall, you wouldn't think so from the weather, which means there's loads of tourists, and they take advantage of the littoral. When the tide goes out, they go down there with their windbreaks and their umbrellas and their little tartan rugs and all that kind of stuff, and they set up camp, and these camps look quite permanent, you know, and they install themselves there and maybe cook a meal there, read a book, check their email, do all the stuff on the beach that people do. It feels quite permanent. Other people might write their name on the sand, you know, or write messages on the sand, big messages that can be almost seen from space sometimes on this littoral. You know, or you might build sandcastles. I was watching some people build some sandcastles day before yesterday, two young men actually, not children. It was big, you know, it's like this big, quite elaborate, maybe 12 feet across. Wasn't very good, but even so, you know, they spent a lot of time on it. It was quite a structure they'd made, quite an edifice, but quite complex, very strong looking, you know, looked almost permanent. But whatever you do on the littoral, you know that within 8 to 12 hours it's all going to be gone. It's all going to be washed away, there's going to be nothing left there. But 24 hours later, there's the littoral back again, as it was, completely unmarked, completely smooth, ready to be built on again. Just a kind of a void ready to be filled, really. Completely permanent in that. You know, permanent in a way that things that are always on land are not permanent. You know, things that are on land, you know, this space where I'm looking, look at these walls here, they've probably been here for hundreds of years, this wall. But that's not permanent. That wasn't here 500 years ago, I think, and it won't be here in another 5. That's not permanent. The most permanent structures around me aren't permanent. This landscape that I'm in here isn't permanent, really. It looks it. These hedgerows look permanent. The shape of the hills look permanent. This valley looks permanent, you know. But this valley wasn't here a few million years ago. It was carved out by the rivers that flow through here. But a littoral is permanent in a way that isn't, because it's constantly being refreshed. It's constantly being wiped clean, isn't it? And that's a really firm thing. It's a really strong thing. It's a really what is it? It's almost eternal, you know, the littoral, and it's transience that gives it that. I sometimes think about biblical literalism, or kind of literalism that's applied to beliefs of all kinds, really, but particularly religious beliefs. And by religious beliefs, I mean them in the broadest sense. Beliefs that try to make sense of the world, try to apply wisdom to the world, connect up not just all of the objective facts into the world into an edifice of science that you can step back and look from a distance, because that's really important. But that other kind of making sense, which involves, you know, being part of it, seeing it from the inside and the outside, from above and below, from, you know, beyond and before, from just being completely enmeshed in the world, that kind of sense. Wisdom for religion, if you want to call it that. And I'm not talking about dogma, I'm not talking about rituals, I'm just talking about that religious sense. I sometimes wish that we had literal religions, that religion was more literal in the edge of the world sense rather than literal in the dogmatic sense. You know, that there was a religious ambition, yes, to write names on the beach and to build castles and to set up home, and to put your windbreak up as a defence against the elements and all those kind of things, of course. But with the recognition that that's not the permanent stuff. The permanent stuff is what happens between and around those times. You know, when the tide of history washes all that away, and all our knowledge and all our edifices have gone, and every last human on earth has been wiped out, and born again, and wiped out, and evolved again and wiped out. When all that's happened, all those tides have washed over us, then it's still the same beach. You know, the beach is still there, there's still nothing on it. It's just that, really, just that little strip of land at the edge. Look, the cows are sitting down. Look, see the cows sitting down? That means it's going to rain. I don't want it to rain, therefore I'm going to go and make the cows stand up, because that's how it works.